The painting Salvador Mundi by Leonardo da Vinci could fetch $100 million at auction next month. Just one part of his rich legacy. Our cover story is from Dr. John LaPook.
They packed this gallery at the Louvre in Paris, at least 6 million people a year, for a glimpse at a superstar. But a select few, like author Walter Isaacson, actually appreciate the Mona Lisa as art.
It's the most famous painting in the world. And when you stand before it at the Louvre, you all of a sudden realize why. It's the most emotional painting.
So she's been a celebrity for
500 years.
We know a lot more about the celebrity artist who painted her than we do about Mona Lisa herself. Largely because her creator, Leonardo da Vinci, documented his life's work in painstaking detail. Some 7,200 pages of scribbles and sketches survive.
You know, Leonardo may have been the person with the greatest amount of curiosity of any human who ever existed. And he would make lists in his notebooks of things he wanted to know, like how do they walk on ice in Holland, or describe the tongue of the woodpecker. Now, who in the world would wake up one morning and put on their to-do list, describe the tongue of the woodpecker? What use is it? But there it is, and over again, Leonardo is just putting down in his notebook things he's curious about.
Walter Isaacson's curiosity has given us best-selling books about Albert Einstein and Apple's Steve Jobs. And his just-released biography of Leonardo da Vinci, published by CBS's Simon & Schuster, will also be a film starring another Leonardo.
There's a story that Leonardo DiCaprio has told, which is that when his mother was pregnant with him, she was at the Uffizi. There's a wonderful Annunciation there. Looking at the painting, he starts kicking, and the dad says, "We're going to name him Leonardo."
DiCaprio's namesake was born out of wedlock in Florence in 1452. With little formal schooling, he was apprenticed at age 14 to an engineer and artist, and Leonardo's skill and imagination flourished.
Florence was very tolerant of a guy like Leonardo, who was left-handed and gay and vegetarian and illegitimate.
And it seems, quite a hunk.
Leonardo was also incredibly good-looking, in very good shape, extraordinarily athletic, long curling hair, and I think that Vitruvian Man, the guy in the circle and the square spread eagle, I think it's partly a self-portrait.
But perhaps most of all, Leonardo was stunningly inventive.
He makes a portable bridge which you can just pop up in the middle of a battle if you have to cross a river.
The Aspen Institute, the nonprofit think tank Isaacson helped to shape for many years, recently held a celebration of all things Leonardo on its Colorado campus.
Glider, and he did it in Milan off one of the mountains.
Sketches were transformed into three-dimensional models. The famous helicopter.
I think it was first designed for the theater because he was doing all these amazing props, having people fly and descend and ascend on the stage.
An underwater diving apparatus.
He said it would be a great way to sort of attack ships. In fact, he kept secret some of the details for fear that the enemies could figure it out.
But it's Leonardo's sketches that may set him apart.
Okay, this is the big moment, right?
Now so valuable that when curators at New York's Metropolitan Museum agreed to give us a peek,
I'm actually nervous.
Oh my goodness.
at first they would only show us copies until we promised to limit exposure to our television lights.
You know, when I saw these for the first time, it's like, oh my goodness, there's the hand of the artist. And it's just as if he were making it in front of me. Every time you see it, there's a new layer to appreciate.
Here's the head of a man in profile. This is a design for a stage setting, a bear walking, and the head of the Virgin.
Something's happening here. Something's caught her eye. She has turned her head. It's a study for many paintings he would do later, but you realize that he didn't just love objects. He understands how human movements reflect the emotions of the mind.
Only one Leonardo painting is in the collection of an American museum, this portrait of Leonardo da Vinci at the National Gallery of Art in Washington.
How did it help change Renaissance painting?
Well, up until then, Renaissance painting had sort of sharp lines, and Leonardo said that's not the way nature works. So there's a smokiness to the lines. But the great thing about this picture is you see a young Leonardo who's on the path to painting the Mona Lisa, but this isn't the Mona Lisa.
There's something else uniquely Da Vinci about this portrait.
Leonardo cared even about the parts unseen, so he paints the back of Ginevra da Vinci. We realize, and he still has more to teach us.
Leonardo even taught himself anatomy with dozens of human dissections. He documented how the aortic valve in the heart works, something researchers only confirmed in recent years. And then there's his knowledge of the eye.
He realized that the center, when you're staring at something, you see the detail. And if you're slightly off, it goes to a different part of the retina. The harder you look directly at the Mona Lisa's lips, the more it looks like her lips are turned down. But as your eyes wander, she starts smiling at you. So it flickers.
I couldn't help thinking when you described that, did Leonardo da Vinci figure out a way to have a painting flirt with the viewer?
Yes. He figured out a way to have it interact. In the Mona Lisa, you see the combination of all of Leonardo's anatomy and science with his art.
And what better way to discuss what may be this son of Florence's ultimate accomplishment, the Last Supper, than over an Italian meal?
It begins with Jesus saying, "One of you shall betray me." And you watch it. It's almost like a wave. It reverberates out.
Emotion, spirituality, and drama make this fresco one of the world's most admired works of art, studied down to the tiniest detail, which is how we discovered what may be the origin of one of our most familiar superstitions, a cause of bad luck.
It is certainly one of the greatest biblical moments ever, which is Judas knocking over the salt in that painting.
I didn't realize that. Is that where the superstition comes?
Oh, yeah.
That
Yeah,
you
yeah,
knock
yeah.
over salt?
Yeah, you can see the salt cellar. You can see everything.
The artist, engineer, and scientist who lived a life of boundless curiosity died in 1519. He was 67 and left no known children. Leonardo da Vinci died a poor man, but, says Walter Isaacson, he left us a wealth of lessons.
Do you now find yourself looking at the world differently?
I walked over here to the Metropolitan Museum through Central Park, and I took a little bit of extra time because he loved the way light hit leaves and formed shadows. He's somebody who says, pause for a moment and look at the way the water is falling into the pond. Those are the type of things he noticed, and I try to push myself to notice things that Leonardo would have noticed.